Life is not about it being rosy and happy and amazing. Life is about how you're going to handle the challenges, how you're going to rise above, how you're going to grow. And through the only way you're going to have growth is through the pain.
Okay, it's a new year. Let's go, 2022. This is the Token CEO podcast. This is episode 197 for anybody keeping track. It is January 6th. I love a new year. It's a fresh new start. I'm not a big resolution person. Some people here are, but I do love a fresh start. I love a new year. I love being hopeful and optimistic for everything that's ahead, and I hope everyone else here is too. We're presented by Sports Research, so if you're trying to be fit and healthy and in shape in 2022, they are a company that can help you get what you need. So if you need Sweet Sweat, that's like the little stick you rub on you. It helps you sweat. It improves circulation. It helps you lose fat in troubled areas. I could just basically maul that over myself right now. Or you want a waist trimmer, or you want collagen or vitamins, you name it. Go to sportsresearch.com. Add your favorite products to your basket, use code Erika at checkout, and you can get 25% off. So that's sportsresearch.com, promo code Erika, 25% off. We're doing 5 things today. So instead of headlines, which we usually do, we're talking about our goals for 2022. We've got a Q&A. We talked to my friend Maria Menounos, who is one of the most inspiring, resilient women I have ever met. We're doing our adulting segment, and then we have our second woman featured in our Work Like a Girl segment. So first up is Barstool goals for 2022. So in this segment, you're gonna hear a couple things. You're gonna get my goals for 2022. We brought our cameras and mics into our end of year company meeting where we lay out our 2022 goals. So you'll get a little bit of that. So as a quick setup, I think having goals for a year is really important. One of the biggest things that I've learned, though, is that having an annual goal at Barstool is kind of a futile exercise. Like, it's just stupid. A year is too long. So we're really looking at quarterly goals. So we've looked, I would say, for the last 2 years, maybe 3 years, at having quarterly goals versus annual goals. The other thing we're going to start doing this year is doing people reviews on a quarterly basis instead of just saving them to the end of the year and having those be on an annual basis. When I think about my priorities for 2022, we had an incredible 2021. It was hard, it was awesome, it was scary, it was frustrating, it was exhilarating. The thing with Barstool that's just so incredible is it's so many things wrapped into one, and we go through so very much in a year. It's almost breathtakingly fast, and I'm so grateful to have the experience to work here. I'm in awe of all the people who make this place what it is and make it possible, and am so inspired by the work and the level of commitment and creativity and weirdness, and really the resilience and dedication that people have to making Barstool Sports successful. So as we look forward to Q1 2022 and 2022 in general, here are the things that I'm thinking about. I think that we have chosen growth over building infrastructure and supporting our people. I think we've chosen that for the last 5 years. And this year, which is my 6th year, I really want to invest in people. I think we need better managers at Barstool Sports. I think we need better employee services and programs. The biggest thing we announced at our company meeting is that we're introducing a 401k match. I think that's a big deal for people trying to save for their future and trying to think about what life is going to be like, not just at Barstool or after Barstool, but in 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. I really want to add staff. We've been so lean for so long because to be honest with you, we never really know what's going to happen next. So getting fat would be a problem. I think my biggest criticism of most other digital media companies is how bloated they are. I think television companies and cable companies are just disgustingly bloated. But I also, in the same breath, feel like we're way too skinny. So really investing in giving people the support they need, whether that means other resources, whether that means systems or tools or training, we're going to do all those things in 2022. Second thing we're going to do is to productize Barstool. So We've been building IP, we've been growing personalities, we've been making and distributing content simultaneously at a breakneck pace for almost 6 years now, and even before that, but really starting with video and audio and podcasts and social. In the last 6 years, we've gone from doing 1 to 2 things to doing 10 things to doing 15 things to doing 25 to 100 things simultaneously. We produce 500,000 pieces of content a month. That's insane for a company of 300 people and really a company of 100 personalities. So we need to think about how we better productize what we do. How do we take the IP that we have and make it bigger? How do we take someone like Brianna Chicken Fry and the Sleep When You're Dead tour? How do we make that a massive brand in entertainment, in college, in lifestyle? So we're going to better manage our IP. We're going to better grow our personalities. We're going to better monetize that IP. And we're going to create better systems and infrastructure to be able to execute it. Third thing is Barstool Athletes. So basically off of 3 tweets and a lot of effort, we launched Barstool Athletes and signed 25% of all college athletes, which is insane. And frankly, I think it's something that most companies in the NIL space would kill for. What have we done with it? Like absolutely fucking nothing. So we're going to do something with Barstool Athletes. We want to create value for athletes. When I think about what's going to make the difference of athletes making money or not, it's going to be all based on their social following. It's going to be entirely based on the content they create, on the persona they develop, on the platforms that they curate for themselves, and on the position they stake out on social media platform. What company knows how to do that? Barstool Sports knows how to do that. And that's what we're going to bring to the table for the athletes who are part of Barstool Athletes. So I'm fired up about that. We're going to build relationships with bigger Fortune 100 brands. We're psyched to work with Chevy. We're psyched to work with Walmart. We're psyched to work with big multinational brands, and we're going to do more of that this year. We're going to do more in finance. We're going to launch consumer products in a way that we haven't before. We're going to add more products in the alcohol category. So we've got a whole bunch of goals. Our goals will always relate to our people, growing our audience and growing the brands and personalities that we have here, and then finding ways to make money and to create value and drive the bottom line from building all those things. So that's what we're doing this year. So all that said, here's a snippet from our company-wide meeting from the end of last year. The first thing I just wanted to say to everyone who's here in the room, on Zoom, wherever it may be that the Barstool Sports person is working, just a big thank you. This was a crazy year. It was a really big year for us. We got a lot done. We overcame a lot. We invented a lot. We created a lot. We fucked up a lot. So I think it was just an amazing, amazing year. And I think it was a very Barstool year. Every year that we've had has been different and the same all at once. And the biggest thing that I wanted to say to everyone who's part of this company is just thank you for being a part of it. So just let's give a round of applause to everybody. The second thing is, so we are now at over 320 people. We have 326 people who work here. In 2016 at this time, I think we maybe had 22 people that worked here. So we have had a crazy, crazy, crazy amount of growth in terms of the number of people that work at Barstool Sports. We obviously have moved to the company party. Otherwise, I would have the line that you should get to know people who don't work here. But one of the things that's, I think, really important to acknowledge is that managing a company with 350 people or 320 people, next year we'll have 450 people, is different than managing a company of 11 people. And we need to start to think about how we evolve what we do to be great as a company of 320 people. So one of the things that I've been working a lot on is to really define what makes Barstool Barstool and what makes working at Barstool Barstool, and what do we value as a company. So these are the things that we've really come up with as the core of what we value. So whether you work in finance, or you're a personality, or you work in sales, or you work in the merch team, or you do social, or you're in production, I think these are all things that every single great person here has. And I think that when we're at our best, we embody these things, and when we're at our worst, we don't. So things that we value, repping the brand as best you can. I think one of the best things about Barstool is how many different perspectives and weird brains and personalities we have here. Be open to them. I think the best thing about Barstool is that this is a place for growth. I've had a huge amount of growth here. Everyone I know here has had a lot of growth here. Some has been good, some has been bad, some has been hard, some has been easy. But being open to all the people who work here, where they come from, what their ideas are, how they think we should do things, that is what makes us so great, is that there's so many different people and so many different perspectives. Being open to them is important. Never change who you are. That's who we hired. We want you exactly the way you are. We're not like an ESPN or a CBS or a Bleacher Report or SB Nation where we're trying to make a machine in a factory. We're trying to embrace people as they come, and that's very important. Find the solution, don't be the problem. I think this is the biggest thing for us. This is, I think, our single biggest failure in 2021 was that there was a lot of times where we were getting stuck on problems instead of finding what the solution is. And I think the greatest thing about this company is how scrappy and entrepreneurial it is and how solution oriented it is. Don't be afraid to try something new. That's what makes us us. We are always experimenting. I think being afraid to fail is something that will hold you back here, whether you're a personality or you're a business person. So being unafraid to go go find and try new things is really important. Common sense is king or queen. Use it. This is, to me, is the biggest thing I take away from Dave, is when I'm thinking about something on the business side or about the company, or we're trying to do a deal or we're trying to solve something, I always say to myself, like, what would Dave do? And to me, Dave always finds the most common sense question or the common sense solution. And I think when we use common sense, we usually make the right decision. When we do stupid things, it's because we're not making sense and we're not using our head or our brains. Be there for your audience. So whether your audience is a brand advertiser, whether your audience is on TikTok, whether your audience is a salesperson because you work in finance and you're doing pricing, whether your audience is someone else that works in this company or a talent or personality at this company, be there for your audience. We did not lose, we obviously have been through a big thing with Business Insider. We did not lose one single advertiser during that. We did not lose one single partner. And the reason we did not lose one single partner is, one, because the truth was on our side, and two, because we worked our ass off to make sure that we did not lose any partner. So being there for your partners, being there for your audience, being there for your customer is really, really important. Huge credit to our sales team for that. But being there all year long means that when things are great and when things are bad, your partner will stick with you. And then always think about what else you can do to help. I get really bummed here when I see people just let each other fail. And I think that sucks. I think that's us at our worst. So finding a way to think about how you can make yourself successful and how you can make people around you successful, I think that's something that makes us a great company. 2021 by the numbers. So we launched 17 new podcasts. We brought 16 new personalities. We made almost 10,000 graphics. So shout out to the graphics team and Chase. They did a great job. We made 72,000 videos. We added 53 million new social followers. Fun fact, we were looking at the size of our social following in 2016 this week. We have grown our social following by 5,780%. So we've made ourselves 57 times bigger in 5 years. We are growing the size of the entire audience we had in 2016 every 3 weeks, which is pretty amazing. So congratulations on that. 800 Viceroy accounts. We met with Kyle and the entire Viceroy team yesterday. Actually, these guys are crushing it. I think what we've done to make our Viceroy program big and robust, Katie and adding the Chicks Viceroys, adding production Viceroys, thinking about how we're adding city viceroys. This has been a big program for us. We now have 800 viceroys that work for us. They are helping us make money, they're helping us grow audience, and they're helping us be relevant on a college basis. College is an audience we can win, and that's an audience that we should never, ever lose to anybody else. We had 111 new hires, which is kind of insane. We had 14,000 data combinations analyzed. We did 525 COVID tests, so thank you to everybody for doing that. We had over 330 advertising partners. We sold 3,000 merch items, I think. And then we coded 69, that's nice, million lines of code. So that's the numbers. Things that I'm passionate about. I think the commitment here, the level of grit here, the determination, the resilience of people that work at this company is unparalleled. So I love that. It is so inspiring. I love working at Barstool Sports because I get to work with people like you. I think what we did for small businesses, raising $47 million, is insane. We changed people's lives, and I'm so proud of that. I think the way we delivered for our advertisers this year was incredible. I was watching the social from Pup Punk in Hartford, and PFT is drinking a Coors Light and wandering around in a Coors Light t-shirt. Like, Coors Light didn't pay him to do that night. He just was doing it because that's the brand that's associated with Pardon My Take. Like, nobody does that. We do that. I love the way we figure things out. I love the can-do attitude. I think the way this especially plays out and comes to life in the production team is just amazing. I think what that team makes possible for talent and for advertisers and our partners is just incredible. We embraced new people, we tried new things, and we took things to a new level. Things that concern me. The platforms are changing. So one thing that I want everyone here to just recognize is our whole vision is that we are creating content and putting it everywhere all the time. That's what we do differently than Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is like, I make a podcast for Spotify, I put a video on YouTube, and I do social clips. We're not like that. We're making content for TikTok, for Instagram, for Facebook, for Twitter, for groups, for Pinterest, for live events. We're cutting it up, we're promoting it, we're putting it in all different places. What we used to do 4 years ago is we would have somebody come to Barstool, a new talent or personality, and we would say, make a podcast. Nobody gives a shit about podcasts in 2021 and 2022 the way they did in 2016. We're not early on podcasts anymore. So the way we think of, hey, we're going to do a podcast first, then we're going to put social clips, we'll promote it that way. We have to think differently about what we're making. Social counts, video counts, multimedia counts. I'm not saying podcasts aren't great. Podcasts are awesome and they are the backbone of our business. But we can't be thinking about making content the way we made content in 2016. We can't think about making videos the way we made them in 2020. We have to continue to reinvent how we do things, and that's critical to our success. We've added a lot of new people. Adding 100 people, like we are growing by a third every year. People make things complicated. So adding new people is great, but it also means that we have to find ways to make people part of our system and to make those people work without overcomplicating things. I get worried because we brought in a lot of new people, then those people are bringing new people, and those people are bringing new people. And I'm not sure if all those people know what it's like to work at Barstool, where we're trying to go as Barstool, what we want to do at Barstool. So really making sure that we find a way to create a system for people to succeed is really important. I think we're super inconsistent about how we manage people. In fact, I would say our people management kind of sucks here. So I think we have to improve how we manage people, how we reward people, how we train people, how we get people indoctrinated into what we're trying to do, how we listen to people, how we give people critical feedback, how we fire people. We need to be better at that. That is not something we valued. We always valued growth. So it was always about move as fast as you can, get as big as you can get, and the people stuff will happen later. And as a result, like, we have bad morale in places, we have burnout nearly everywhere. We have to be better at managing our people and managing our teams. I think that in a lot of cases, we find ourselves in a situation where every man or every woman is out for themselves. And I think that's a tough place to be. I think the best thing about Barstool, and Dave talks about this better than anyone, and I'll let him talk about it, is that this is a sports team. So if you're a great player, you can get glory, you can get money, you can get fame, you can be famous, you can have all the accolades, but you're also creating value for the team, and the team is giving you the environment where you can play. And I think this is true whether you're in sales, whether you're an account manager, whether you're a personality. It doesn't matter who you are or where you work in this group. There's a value to being part of the team, and there's a value to being a great player, and I want to see us do that. I think we have to stay intellectually honest with ourselves. Sometimes I think we buy our own bullshit. Sometimes I hear about how great we are in gaming, or how great we are at this, or how great we are at that. And then I look at it and I'm like, are we great? Like, did we do a great job? Who are we beating? What's the number that proves that? So I think we have to be intellectually honest about what is working and what's not working. And then the last thing is we have to continue to evolve, and change is very hard. And you have to embrace change if you are going to grow. And that's a fact. That's a fact in your life, and that's a fact at work. And that's something we really need to do. I think that one way to put a year in the books is to look at all the photos you took from the year before. So in the same way that Spotify does its best of the year playlist, maybe you do that same thing with all of your photos on your iPhone. Nobody's using a camera anymore. All of the photos you walk around with you and you talk into every day when you use your phone. I love to take the best photos of the year and frame them so that I have them forever and I can remember all the memories and moments from the year before. FrameBridge is awesome. They make it affordable and easy to frame your favorite photos. You can do it online. It takes 2 seconds. You literally upload the photo that you have, you choose the frame that you want, and then you can have a memory that will not just live in your phone, but it will last forever. The other great thing is, instead of paying hundreds of dollars for frames at a framing store, the markup at a framing store is insane. There's zero reason you should do that. The great thing about FrameBridge is their prices start at just $39. All shipping is free, and anyone who uses code TOKEN will get 15% off. So go to framebridge.com, use code TOKEN, and you'll get 15% off your order. Or if you live in New York, DC, Atlanta, Philly, Boston, or Chicago, you can go to a FrameBridge store and pick out your frames IRL. Next up is Q&A. So first Q&A. I struggle with focus and time management. Welcome to the club. How do you prioritize tasks throughout the day and the week, and how do I stay focused and diligent on the tasks that don't excite me? Okay. All right. So I too struggle with focus. I think I'm very good at time management, but I also get exhausted by my time management. So my trick, doesn't work for everybody, is I'm a big list person. When I go into a week, typically on Sunday nights, I sit down with my laptop and I'm like, what is everything that I have to get done this week? And I put the shittiest stuff at the top. I need to find a primary care physician and have a physical. Last thing I want to do is get a fucking physical, but I need to get a physical, so I put that at the top of my list. I need to go through budget reviews. Don't really want to do that either. Doesn't excite me. That's the second thing on the list. Sometimes I make a list of personal things and a list of work things, and I just work to tick off everything on that list. I bookmark the page of my notebook that list is on, and I make sure that come Friday morning, I block out a half hour for myself, and I'm like, what did I get done from this list this week? Anything I didn't get done makes it to the list for the next week. So time management can be hard. I also think it's really easy to avoid the tasks that don't excite you but need to get done. And ultimately, if you make a list, it's really satisfying to get stuff off that list. And the sooner you get the bad, annoying, not fun stuff off, you can get yourself focused on the stuff that excites you and makes you happy. Second question is, what's your advice to someone who feels stuck in their career even though they're great at it? I've felt like this, actually, at moments where from the outside looked really, really, really fun and successful and awesome. But inside I was like, I'm bored, this sucks, I hate the people I work with, I hate myself, I'm not having fun here. So I think this is actually really common. I think it sucks to be stuck. whether it's in your life, whether it's at work, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your particular job or the city you live in, or really anything. Like being stuck stinks because you're forced to wallow in a situation that makes you unhappy. So my advice is, it doesn't matter if you're really good at it. If you're not happy doing it, stop doing it. Figure out what are those things that make you really good at whatever it is you're doing and apply them to something else. So I think being stuck makes you get old. I think it makes you tired. I think it makes you bitter. I think it makes you stagnant. I think it makes you uninteresting. And at the worst case, it makes you toxic. So if you're stuck, it doesn't matter how fucking good you are at what you're doing. Don't be stuck. Go find a way to take what you know, take what you do, take who you know, take where you live, take where you work. Take those things and put yourself into a new environment that lets you learn and grow and develop. And you know what? Maybe you'll feel stuck there too, but that's okay. Then move on to the next thing. I think it's good to keep having progress. It's good to have momentum. It's good to be challenged. When you're stuck, you're unhappy. It doesn't mean that what you're going to go to next is going to make you happy. And sometimes change can make people really, really, really uncomfortable. I feel like I've dealt with a crazy ass amount of change in the last year, and it has made me deeply, deeply unhappy. But I'm also at the same time really fulfilled and grateful about where I'm going to come out after having gone through all that change, after getting unstuck. So I think really good things can come out of not being stuck and taking a step into a new place. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to be fun. It doesn't mean you're instantly going to be happy the next second, but it does mean that you're doing something and that you're working on yourself to be fulfilled. And that's ultimately most important. How do you change others' perceptions of you? Example, I'm learning that my male coworkers find me bossy, but really I'm just being assertive and trying to get the work done. Okay, on this one, I think that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So you may be wanting to get work done, but you're bossy. If people think you're bossy, you're bossy. So I think there's a couple things to that. One is, if you can, have good EQ. Pay attention to how people respond to you, how they relate to you, how they interact with you. It's really easy to be self-absorbed on me. I'm like this. This is what I mean to do. This is why I'm doing it. Newsflash, nobody cares about what's inside your head and why you're doing something. Only you care about that. I think the biggest way to change people's perceptions of you is, one, to understand what those perceptions are. 2, to understand why people have those perceptions. 3, to adapt what you're doing to change that perception. You can still be assertive without being perceived as bossy. Maybe you've got to sugarcoat it. Maybe you've got to wrap it in a velvet hammer. Maybe you've got to find a different way to deliver the message. That can stink. You can feel like, ugh, I don't want to do that. It's annoying. But it's ultimately really important if you care about changing people's perceptions. If you don't, and you're like, fuck it, they think I'm bossy, I don't care, then you do your thing. If you do care and you want it to change, then you've got to think about how you can be assertive, how you can advocate for yourself, how you can get the work done without alienating people in the process. So our interview this week is with my friend Maria Menounos. Maria Menounos had, I would argue, of the people I know, one of the hardest, most heart-wrenching years in 2021. She lost her mom to cancer. Both of her parents had COVID. She was the primary caregiver for her family. She took on a great deal of responsibility herself, all the while dealing with her own health problems, dealing with her own mental health, dealing with her business, her marriage, her animals, her life. I think that she is an incredibly strong person. I think she is inspiring in how she navigates through her life and how she articulates what she's doing to make her life better. And I thought she would be the perfect guest for us going into a new year and talking about being resilient, being an advocate for yourself, even in the face of great adversity. What things did you learn in 2021? What are you leaving behind in 2021? And what are you taking with you into 2022?
That's
That's a lot.
good question. That's heavy. I was telling you earlier that like there were some disappointing moments in the journey with my mom. And in the moment, I was fairly upset, hurt. And I did express it to people where I was like, I can't believe this. This is crazy. I didn't give myself time to process why people might have been acting like that. And so I think in the future, in 2022, before I start to assume what it might be, I'll give myself a little bit more time to have distance from things before I form an opinion about it. Because when you're hurt, you're in like the rawest moments, and
it just like bursts out of you, or
And so I think that that even when people wrong you, you have to give a little bit of time to have some empathy back for them. Maybe somebody can't handle situations like that. Maybe they just aren't cut the way you are, right? Like you just assume like, well, I would be there for them. I can handle this. I would do that. Well, yeah, asshole, you're better in those situations, and they're better in other situations. But you don't, in those moments, you don't think like that.
You don't rationalize it.
So there were moments where I was like let down by some people, and then when I saw them in their situation, they were doing the same exact thing. In their own situation, where you're like, oh, so it was a personal. It's not about me. It's just them. It's who they are and what they're capable of in those scenarios, environments.
It has nothing to do with you.
This was a big one that I learned. I'm really good in crisis. Really good. Whether I like it or not, I freaking hate being in it, but I'm really good.
You can rock crisis.
Kevin and I can rock crisis like nobody else. That's why we're so quick to put our superhero capes on and dive in and jump and try to fix and help. And then when someone doesn't put their superhero cape on
like,
for me,
where's
I'm
your
like,
suit?
Hey, wait, what the fuck? Like, hello?
We're in crisis.
Help!
That's what we do.
I'm suffering. Somebody help me. But there were a few people
Not everybody
that are good
has
at
a
that.
cape. Not everybody has a cape. That's a great learning. That's a great learning. Also to have a refined reaction. I'm the same way. Like I'm already upset about something, crying about it, mad about it. And then I've shot the gun and it's like, oh wait.
Yeah.
Should I have refined that a little bit?
I've had the last couple of days, I've had this feeling like, we do these New Year's resolutions every year. And, I've had some good ones the last couple of years and they've served me and I've stuck with them for the most part. But I said, what if this New Year's resolution was to live the entire year as if you had just been given like a deathly,
like a death sentence.
A death sentence, yeah. And so you have to literally live it like it's your last year on earth. And after I thought about that, I saw someone on Twitter talking about how they lived their best year of their life when they found out her husband was dying. She's like, it was the worst year and the best year because we lived it like it was our last, because it was. And then I was like reinforced in my head that what I was thinking, maybe this was like a message.
Yeah, sure.
Because you have the thought, then you see something like that and you're like, maybe this is the universe talking to me. And so I'm really kind of noodling on it right now and thinking like, how and what would that look like? Because you would think it would just be, okay, I'm going on every trip possible.
Every vacation I've ever wanted to have.
I'm going to see the Northern Lights. I'm going to go to Alaska. I'm going to do some National Geographic tours. But it can't just be that. And so, but then at the same time, having gone through everything that we've gone through in the last 5 years, I feel like I've really made a point of letting everyone in my life know what they mean to me. So I feel like that's usually something you would do in those moments.
In that year.
So I'm gathering data. If you have any suggestions on what other things that would look like, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to put this into action, because even this last trip we went to in Italy, I had to work in Amsterdam for MTV, and I was like, we're tagging on a trip to Italy. I don't care what it takes. We're going to do it. And it was because I said, if there was a diagnosis around the corner, and we know that that's totally possible because we've had the craziest shit already happen, I would be really mad we didn't do it. So I'm already starting.
So no regret. So you're already living your last best year.
So
like imagine if every year was your last best year.
Yes. But like even if you decided to do what I'm saying for 1 month, like in January, I am going to live this month like it's my last month. I'm going to do everything I want. And then just see what happens.
And also, what would that be? Like, you think about how much time you spend on like material things or clothes, and you're like, would you buy clothes if it was your last best year?
I don't know. Maybe I would go make that crazy shopping spree at Gucci and go, whatever I want, I'm buying. I don't give a shit.
Or you're like, I don't need it.
And then go give it away.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be amazing.
Because it's really about the high.
Yeah, it is about the high.
Because once you get it and you wear it, you're like,
it's okay. Yep. So one of the things I love about you is that I think you show vulnerability in a really beautiful way, and you show strength in the face of loss. And one question I'm curious about with you is how do you have a new year after a year with loss or a year with so much change? Like, how do you think about that? I'll take a step back. Like, I went to dinner last night with a bunch of women, and some of them I hadn't seen in like 2 years. And everyone was like, the last 2 years were like 20 years combined. And that's for a regular person, not for someone necessarily who'd gotten divorced or who'd lost a family member or who had a diagnosis. Like, how do you think, one of the things I love about you is that I think you kind of embrace the moment you're in. The new year is, I think there's such pressure around like, gonna be the best year yet, or it's all fresh and new. And
it's all ahead of me.
It's all ahead of me. And then it's like, bam. Or you're still reeling from the year before. So as someone who is so in touch with where she is, how that feels and what it means, like how do you think about moving into a year after a lot of loss or a lot of change?
I think it's kind of the same as when you're dealing with it and you say like, I'm in it and I'm present. It's the same thing kind of going into the new year. Like, we just finished Thanksgiving and it was our first Thanksgiving without my mom, and like we're just kind of walking around our house here with my dad, and we're all kind of zombies in a weird way, not in like an overtly obvious way, but there's almost like, what is there to look forward to? So then you're like, well, I guess we're gonna have kids. Hopefully that will help or whatever, or maybe my dad will meet someone. Maybe that will help. Like we're just kind of like in this limbo, and unfortunately, you have to be comfortable with a little bit of limbo. And it's hard when you're doers. And we've been in limbo for a long time, because when we were back here from January to May with my mom this year, just watching her die, that was a limbo, and it was a painful limbo. So I don't know if I really have an answer other than just being rocky and just keep trying, keep getting
embrace
up
where you are. I had this thing, for some reason I got very sad Saturday night, and I like just cried the entire night. Like, I don't know if you've ever had that night where you just have like the tears, like,
you don't know why.
I just think it was like, I feel like, because I think when you're dealing with loss or change or circumstances beyond your control, it can be overwhelming and you can be a victim to it. But what happened to me is I woke up at 4 a.m. on Sunday morning, and I was like, I'm just tired of feeling bad and sad. Like, I want to make a change that's positive. I want to take control of my situation. I want to see love and brightness in a future. And it's like, I think one thing that's hard in a new year environment is like, you say it once and it's done. And the reality is like, everyone has that Saturday night and everyone has that Sunday morning. And then you're going to have both of those, on and on and on.
Yeah. Life's like that roller coaster, right?
Exactly.
You can't enjoy the highs without the lows,
understanding the lows.
So why were you sad?
I was sad because there was an article that had come out about Dave, and I have like fatigue on the negativity about Barstool and about Dave or about me. Like, it's like fatiguing after a while. And then I think the second thing that's hard for me is having to deal with how people respond to external things like that. Like how everyone is swayed in this case by press about me, Dave, Barstool, whatever it may be. And then it creates this whole dynamic in relationships that should have nothing to do with the press or with the media or with perception.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people carry their judgments of what they see into your personal and private
and then
situations.
You're like, but wait, that's not me, that's not him, that isn't real. And it just creates distance. And I think that one of the things I struggle with is like when people who you love or who are close to are distanced from you. That's hard.
I know. And it doesn't have to happen in that way either for it to happen. I think the universe is always kind of just showing us things, and they can be painful. And I think that you just have to think about what the hardest part is for us to really hold true to what we really know is true and not worry about what everyone else is thinking or saying. Because as you see in the media every single day, everyone loves pushing like a falling fence. Everyone loves grabbing arms. It's like it's Shakespeare, to take arms against a sea of troubles. They love to just get in there, and everyone loves their opinion, and everyone has one. And opinions, I think, are the lowest form of intelligence.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate because, like I saw an article recently. I really stay out of the news because it's so depressing. For someone who's spent their life in the news, it's really shocking, I'm sure, for people to hear. But I read an article about someone who had built this like $1 billion company. She was 24 years old, and her employees were taking her down because they said it was a toxic environment. And I just thought about her in the shower recently, and I go, I wonder if any of those employees, if they were in that position, if they thought they could do a better job.
100%.
At 24 years old, you think she's supposed to have figured out how to build a non-toxic company?
Yeah, that's right.
Because I remember I was finding my way all the time. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to do anything. You're still learning. You're still growing. And there's just no forgiveness. There's no empathy. There's no there's just no allowance for anything. So, you watch it every single day. It makes me want to just stay in my turtle shell and just hide. It makes me not want to be out there in any kind of significant way. And it's probably why I'm not really as out there as I normally was, because I've gone through so much pain in those arenas where you're just like, ugh,
I don't need more.
I don't need another brain tumor.
Right.
No more.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Right. Yep.
But what we have to learn is we have to learn that the people that are going to be solid in our lives are going to be solid in our lives. The apple tree is always going to shake. There are always going to be the bad apples that come down. There might be people that were in your life up until now that were great, that now are not willing to ride with you in this next chapter. And if they can't hang now, imagine what's going to happen as you grow and as you succeed more.
Sure.
So you have to go through that pain. Yeah. I'm going through that pain. I had people disappoint me in such deep ways through this journey with my mom that were amazing up until the moment I couldn't come through for them in my worst moment where I'm like, I'm having a nervous breakdown and I can't be there for you. And I'm so sorry. And yet they still vilify you. And I'm like, wow, okay. Well, maybe there was stuff underlying that I wasn't paying attention to. Maybe that person didn't belong in my life. I have no control. You're basically cutting me. So that's it.
Yeah.
I can't do anything
about it.
And
then
are
you a dead to me type of person?
No.
You'll
I'm
take
actually
them back.
very forgiving. I take them back and I will assess as I see from there. It doesn't mean that certain people won't be in my life anymore in that way. I'll wish them well. We can be cordial. We can, all of that. Some people, because they were so great, I will kind of experiment and see if things are salvageable in that way. But no, I'm not a dead to me kind of thing, because then you're just as extreme as everybody else.
I agree with that. I think there's something to... My thing is you've got to meet people where they are. Mm-hmm. When you're having a nervous breakdown, when your mother is dying, when you're not there for someone else, someone's got to meet you. If you really love the person, you need to meet them in that place.
But we live in a very narcissistic time where it's me.
Completely. Yeah, completely. Or you are only in service to me, which is what you're describing. I think the other thing that's in your description of friends and people is
I think people put so much blame to other people for their own choices and actions. You think about the 24-year-old billionaire who started a, magnificent startup. Maybe she wasn't a great people manager. Maybe it scaled too fast and it got ahead of her. Maybe she didn't put the right infrastructure around her. Whatever, it doesn't matter. There's this cycle of like vilification on like, hey, I'm sure maybe she sucked to work for. Is that her fault or your fault? Which is, I feel like employees or people are like, oh, she sucked. She was terrible.
It wasn't perfect.
It wasn't perfect.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
It wasn't perfect. Holy shit. Because everyone who's grown up has had these perfect environments. I don't understand.
So interesting. It was funny. I saw a friend of mine who lost her husband this year, and I saw her last night for the first time since her husband had died. And she's awesome. She's a legend in the ad business, and she's built this magnificent career, and she had this great love. And they kind of traveled all over the world. They had this really global lifestyle. And they have 3 kids. And she was saying, I was asking her what she learned, like, what have you learned? And, she talked similar to you about how painful the year had been. Like watching someone die is just a truly excruciating out of body experience in a lot of ways. And then she also said that she learned that she did too much for her children when they were children, because when she needed help, they weren't there.
They're all thumbs because they have no clue how to help.
Right. And she was like,
it's
I
the
need
greatest
help right
service
now.
Parents can do is to do everything for them or give them everything. I watched like my parents. My dad said no 9.999 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Guess who became resourceful? Guess who figured it out? Guess who wasn't spoiled? I mean, he spoiled me in other ways with love, but you know what I mean? Like it's really hard. And so then, these people go off into the work environment and expect everything to be perfect, and everyone's got to be perfect. And even I know through tough situations I've gone through, even though I know what was done to me was so incorrigible and so horrendous and so black and white, because it's all in email and all very, very apparent and witnessed by many, I still have a hard time because I can understand where they're coming from. I understand the things that have gone wrong in their lives, where they didn't have the resources in their own, mental capacities, emotional capacities to handle things differently. I even have a hard time, but I just know nothing is supposed to be perfect.
Right.
Why are we expecting that from people?
Exactly.
If you don't like it, go.
Yeah, that's right. You're in control. Make a choice.
If you don't want to go to a seminar hosted by somebody because you don't think that they are preaching the right things, don't go to the seminar. Where are we at in this world? It's crazy.
It's crazy. So I think that's a bigger thing too, which is that like in looking for your new year, don't expect this year to be perfect.
Don't expect anything to be perfect. Nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. Nothing's perfect. And like life is not about it being rosy and happy and amazing. Life is about how you're going to handle the challenges, how you're going to rise above, how you're going to grow. And through the only way you're going to have growth is through the pain.
Right.
So I've watched the patterns now, and I see in my life when shit hits, I'm like, oh, frig, I don't know if I can handle anymore. And then you can.
Yeah.
And then you grow from it. And I know that when it happens, I'm like, okay, got to go through another growth spurt. And I got to the point where recently I was praying and I'm like, okay, God, like, thank you for everything. This has been amazing. Even the bad stuff, everything's amazing. But like, can we like slow down a minute? Like, can I just get a little break?
Can I have a month
Like,
off?
can I just have like a little less growth?
Yeah,
Just a little less growth because I'm really starting to lose my shit. And so, but I do know it's there and it's all happening for a reason, and that there's a path that I'm being pushed on, and you might be getting pushed into a different path and you don't even realize it. So it's like you just got to sit and be aware and give yourself those breaks to say, let me stop fighting. Let me start listening. Let me start taking stock. Let me start thinking about maybe there's something else that I'm not seeing.
Yeah. And maybe this bad thing that's happening, or this situation that I hate, or, XYZ is actually there to help you.
Most times
it is.
It is.
Yeah, I agree with that. Talk about Better Together. Like, what's happening with Better Together? Like, where are you guys? What's going on?
Better Together is going great. We're, doing our shows daily on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. And I think I'm shifting a little bit more into kind of lifestyle and beauty and fashion and other stuff, because this last journey has been so much about health, because I needed to find answers for my mom. I needed to find answers for me. And it was very intense. And I felt like, okay, every day it was like, you're going to school. My husband would like fill in for me while my mom was sick. And when I was just too overwhelmed, and he's like, Maria, this is like going to like master class every day. Yeah. This is intense. So I took it down
for him or for you?
For him.
Yeah. He did
for
great
me,
though.
I was so in. Thank you. But so I started doing like 2 chats a week and like 2 interviews a week. So it was like a little less heavy, and we're theming the weeks. So we'll have like Entrepreneur Week, we'll have Mental Health Week, we'll have Fitness Week, we'll have all this. But I realized that there were so many parts of me that I abandoned. I love sharing beauty tips. I love sharing fashion tips. I love sharing all kinds of stuff. So we're incorporating a little bit more of that. I'm almost done with a new website that will have more blog content. And so you can go to mariamenounos.com very soon.
Okay.
And the great thing is like, it's kind of like a version of my books, the Ever Girls Guides, where you're going to get authentic advice. I'm not doing anything just because I'm being sold or told to or anything like that, because
you're actually doing it.
It's against my grain. Yeah. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're working on. So I'm excited about it.
That's incredible. And did you miss it when you were off the air?
I did. I always miss having those great conversations. Every day I get to learn something. Yeah. And I love learning and I love sharing. So it's like those 2 things are my wheelhouse. But I knew it was the time that I needed to, reserve for me and just make sure that I was okay, because I was holding and carrying a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I was able to be there for my mom and my dad. And, it was hard.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Hard.
Describe the iPad.
My iPad?
Where you had a constant, you were there virtually. Describe that.
So my mom and dad, so this time last year was a shit show for me. Last year, the day before Thanksgiving, my mom was rushed to the hospital unresponsive. Both my parents ended up with COVID, 2 separate hospitals at the same time. And so I'm, running point on their care. I'm switching between hospitals on literally they all get their breaks at the same time.
Yeah, so doctors. Like your phone is just blowing up.
3 o'clock, I was getting blown up by the pulmonologist, the cardiologist, the visologist. And then I'm like, hold on, I'm on the other line with my dad's doctor at Seniors. I'm at UCLA. I'm on the Please don't hang up on me. Please don't hang up on me. And going back and forth. So what was happening at the time was with my mom, because she had stage 4 brain cancer and she was really weak from the COVID, I knew I had to keep her brain stimulated. And if I didn't, I would lose her. So I would be FaceTiming with her. And then one day the nurse, because they would have to connect me, and God bless them, they were so patient and amazing. She was like, well, why don't we just keep it on? And I said, oh my God. Now my husband had made these little wooden stands in the house during COVID with magnets, like the car magnets. So you could pop your phone on it.
Okay, you could just hold it there with you.
And it would just sit there. Yeah. So I brought one to the hospital and I had them plug it in. And so my mom and I stayed on 24-hour FaceTimes. So I took her wherever I was. She was in the car with me. She was, in the shower. I mean, I made sure I shifted it so it wasn't at the shower, but I could hear if anything happened. Yeah. She slept next to me. I sang to her. I talked to her. I would have her recite poetry. Everything I could do to keep her brain activated. And sometimes it would take her like 2 hours to respond to a question. It was a lot. It was very intense.
Yep.
But it worked. And so she was never alone. I was able to communicate with the nurses.
And you were connected with her.
Yeah. And I was able to say things to the nurses because it was a scary time. Like she was zipped up in a little zipper room. And so I would say, hey, I think her feet are swelling. They're like, oh, we didn't notice that. Or every time you leave the room, she starts coughing. Can we get her some cough medicine? So there were things that they weren't going to catch because it wasn't possible.
Sure.
And so, yeah, it was, I did that little documentary. Is that what you saw?
Great. Yeah.
Mom, Dad, COVID,
I loved
and me.
it.
Yeah. a nurse helped me with the idea of keeping FaceTime on for my mom. Kevin had made these stands with magnets, so I dropped one off and stayed on 24-hour FaceTime with my mom. I didn't want her to feel alone, and I knew that I needed to keep her brain working. Between the COVID fog and the brain tumor fog, I knew for her to beat this, we needed to keep her brain stimulated. Sometimes it would take a long time to get a response, but when I did, I would celebrate.
What time is it today?
A little after 11. I continued my FaceTime sessions with her wherever I went. I took her in the car, I slept with her at night, I even showered with her. Thankfully, I never forgot the camera was on, so there were no mishaps. I spent every moment with my mom.
But it's so interesting to me about how you're so caring and you're so communicative. Like if I were to describe like 10 words for Maria, like I would put those 2 words in there.
Thanks.
And then I think that you use technology. I mean, like anyone who's lost someone this year or had someone who had COVID, everyone talks about how I had a guy on my hockey team who lost his dad and he couldn't go see his dad.
Mm-hmm.
You like, this is so you that you're like, no, you find a way.
Yeah.
And I think that's just really special. Like there's so much about the evils of technology and the, devices and this, that. And it's like, actually it can bring you closer if you're willing to put the tool or the device to create a human connection and to have that connection be good.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I would have like church services going on for her. And I think it's just really important. My uncle just passed to COVID right before Thanksgiving, and I was in the hospital with him. And I just see also, how hard it is for the staff to be able to take on the level of care that you as the patient's family member want.
Yep.
So there's a whole other thing here that I'm like super passionate about, and that's, how to take care of people who are in hospice or bed bound. There's a lot that goes into caring for someone that I've now learned, and I've figured out ways to things that they haven't really figured out ways to yet.
That's right.
A lot of elderly people really suffer unnecessarily. There are things now that can prevent the bed sores or heal the bed sores, or there's so many things that, like, as a crazy producer investigator, I've figured out that I want to find a way to share with people because it breaks my heart. They don't need to suffer like that.
Right.
So, I mean, there's been moments where I'm like, should I just go become a doctor because I'm kind of a fake doctor now?
And you're also like, I feel like you're 35% there, don't you think?
I'm pretty close. When my dad, so we were in Italy recently, and I was like, I got a call, and my dad had gotten a horrible car crash, and it was his blood sugar had dropped so low. He was like singing a song that reminded him of my mom. He got sad, and then, but the doctor called me from the hospital. I'm in Florence, and he's like, so I hear you're a doctor. I literally fell to the floor, fell to the ground in Italy, crying, laughing. I go, no, but I am a fake doctor. I've been like, I'm, very well versed. I've already looked at his MRIs. I've looked at his scans. I've already compared them and talked to neurologists. I'm like, I already know what's happening. He was laughing. So yeah, there's been moments where I'm like, should I just go be a nurse? I really feel like I could help people, but one-on-one, how much can I do?
I know you're
so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to like scale this a little bit more. So
what have you learned about taking care of others? Like if you were to give people like 4 things you've learned.
Never expect anybody else to do the job. They're never going to be able to do it to the level that you need to. It was funny when my uncle was in the hospital. I said, guys, I need you to understand he's 91. They are not going to care about a 91-year-old COVID patient the way you think they should. They're keeping a pulse on him. 2 days later, a nurse pulls him aside and says, they're just keeping a pulse on him. They were like, they said exactly what you said. I go, I know. I said, and so you have to be resourceful. You've got to be the quarterback. And it's not just talking to the doctors and giving your opinions. It's researching things. Like there are products like this product called Briotech. It's a spray, kills COVID, kills bacteria. It's amazing. You can spray that on bed sores and heal them. You have to drench them, allow them to dry, and heal them. Super simple. Alternating mattresses are amazing things that help shift the pressure so that someone doesn't have pressure on their bed sore if they even have one, or prevents them. There are certain things that can be done, but when people put their care in someone else's hands.
Yeah.
So there are some hospitals that are better than others. There are some doctors that are better than others.
There are people that are better than others.
There are people that are better than others. So when you go to a hospital, you think, oh, they got the best care. They're in the hospital. They know they're the professionals. Well, guess what? Some are better than others.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you're getting the level of care, and you can't be scared of them.
Yeah.
They're there servicing you and helping you. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to be a dick.
Yeah.
And don't
Or
be,
an
by the
expert.
way.
Yeah.
Don't be nasty to them, but work with them in a collaborative way to say, this is what I need to get for him. How do we make this happen? I need an alternating mattress. I need, this product sprayed on it. You've got to be pushy, because what happens is people are scared because they're intimidated.
Yep.
Right? These are doctors.
Yeah.
These are, we're all
Yeah.
intimidated by lawyers and doctors and
Yeah.
all these people who are so much smarter than us. It's not about that. It's life and death. You got to go to the mat for your person.
Yeah. That's
and
right.
you can't be
You
afraid
have to be active.
to go to the mat for your person. And so that's something I've been trying to teach people, and you can do it in a kind way. And so, and it's just notebook with everything they say, everything you're seeing. Keeping a pain journal is so important, or a health journal, so that you see patterns and things like that. There's so much that goes into it.
Are you maniacal like that? Are you like a note taker, cataloger?
Yeah, because what happens is you go to the doctor, you think you're going to remember everything, and you
never
will
do.
not. When you are in a high pressure situation, you will not remember. So if you see how many journals I have over the last 5 years with my mom, writing everything they said down. By the way, there are moments where you have to go back and reference. What did we do last time when this happened? Well, guess what? You can go back and reference,
that's
and you
great.
can see.
That's great.
And so, and it helps me now when I go help other people when they're in those situations. Wait, let me go back and see what we did. Hold on. So then I can, bring that information forward for them.
That's incredible. What other tips, like beauty tips? You're talking about beauty shopping tips. Like, give us,
Okay.
what do we got?
So I was telling you about my TJ Maxx and Marshalls
Love.
obsession. So these are the boots I bought. So now these are made in Italy. Okay, so having just gone to Italy and going into the leather manufacturers, places where they make shoes and bags, I looked around and I'm like, wait, this is all those brand labels like Gucci and all those places that they make for those companies, and they slap a label on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? So when I saw these and I bought these and another pair too, I was like, so normally they would just slap a label on this.
Yeah, and that's a Gucci boot.
And these are really well-made, gorgeous boots. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. So with TJ Maxx, the thing I love the most is their runway. I told you about it. You didn't know. TJ Maxx, go to TJ Maxx online and click on the runway. And you will be blown away.
I will be doing this in about 6
at
minutes.
the brands you will get. And the cool thing is, so because I've worked with them for so long, I know the behind the scenes. And when you understand the behind the scenes, you understand the stores better. Their buyers go and negotiate with these crazy brand levels and say, we see that you've over manufactured. Let's cut a deal. And they cut a deal. That's why we get it for 20 to 60% off. And they're in season. They're not past season.
It's not like last year's
It's not a
spring,
regular
summer,
stuff.
blah, blah,
It's
blah.
none of that.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would I really look to shop anywhere else? Because everything I want is there. And if you're going to a store and you're not, or you don't have time, go online. It's so easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you can get the stuff that you want, and you have a wider array because you have so many stores to pull from. But I'm kind of obsessed. The other thing I would tell you right now, but I kind of did chip,
Okay.
is this new polish. It's called Dazzle Dry. Have you heard of it?
No.
I'm about to change your life.
Okay, let's go. Do you do it yourself?
No.
Okay.
But you can.
Okay.
So Dazzle Dry goes on like a nail polish.
Okay.
Comes off like a nail polish.
Okay.
Acts like a gel.
Okay.
So this is 2 weeks.
Your nails are 2 weeks right now.
Yes. They do not chip, people, but I'm going to tell you, I
this
did
is like
chip.
4 days chip
I
central.
did chip finally because I am aggressively, psychotically cleaning, organizing, unpacking
Okay.
boxes. Shit.
You're like,
I am like the worst I've ever been.
Yep.
And it took that much for this to happen.
That's amazing.
But this doesn't happen under any kind of normal
Wait, so you
rigmarole.
buy it yourself and you bring it to the nail salon
So
with
a
you?
lot of nail salons are starting to
Okay, they're
carry
carrying
it.
Okay.
I get nothing out of saying this, but they're just literally my like best latest find.
Okay.
And makeup eraser. Have you heard of makeup
No,
eraser?
let's
About to
go.
change your life again. It's this little like velvety, felty kind of pad. You wet it, makeup erases.
Like in the morning when I wake up and my mascara is down to my nose?
No, it won't be like that because when you do it at night, it's gone.
Really?
It's called makeup eraser for a freaking reason.
And it works? What about with
Yes.
waterproof mascara?
I haven't tried waterproof mascara, but I know it will work.
Okay.
It's called makeup eraser because it erases
Do
everything.
you like rinse it?
Yes, and then what I'll do is I'll wash it with my antibacterial soap. I'll put it on the sink nozzle and let it dry overnight. They're
And then
reusable. You wash them normally I wash them in the washing machine,
Okay.
right? But if I'm traveling, that's what I'll do so I can
Okay.
reuse them. They're pretty bomb.
Okay, that's hugely bomb.
2 life-changing things, ladies.
I mean, that's amazing.
So
And
now you
great
don't have
life
to buy all
advice.
those wipes that like
I
ruin
hate the wipes and my eyes are
environment.
stinging.
And what people don't realize, they have alcohol in them, and so then they
just
dry out
drives
your
you
skin.
and wrinkle you right up.
Yep,
Maria,
life-changing.
you are the best.
We're better together.
We are better together. Okay, tell people where they can find you and all your greatness.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at Maria Menounos. If you don't know how to spell Menounos, let me teach you what Tiffany in grade school taught me. She's like, oh, it's so easy. Me, noun, OS.
There we go.
And Better Together with Maria Menounos is on YouTube and Apple Podcasts
Amazing. You're not on Spotify?
and Spotify.
Okay, great.
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right, you're the best.
Thank you.
I
You're the best.
appreciate you.
Thank
No,
you.
you're the best.
All right, so now we're into adulting. Our adulting segment today is about getting new interests or hobbies or setting good habits for yourself. I struggle with this, but I'll tell you guys what I'm going to do this year. So one is I'm very bad about prioritizing exercising. I just suck at it. Like I get up in the morning and I can't wait to get on the train to go to work because I'm a loser and I love to work. But I need to, like 3 mornings a week, take a train that's 30 minutes later so that I can go for a run. Because at the end of the day, I'll feel better. My mental health will be better. My energy will be better. My body will feel better. I'll look better, right? So that's one habit that I'm trying to get into. I tend to run my life on my calendar, so I'm going to use my calendar as a way to keep up with my habit. The other thing I want to do is to get back to hockey. I stopped playing hockey this year, which really stinks. I loved learning how to skate. I loved playing hockey with my coach, Scotty. So I really want to get back to that. The thing I'm going to have to do is get up earlier in the morning, and I'm tired and I don't really want to do it, and it's dark out and it's cold. And so that's another thing that I really want to get a good habit on, because I think it's good for my mental health. I think it's good for my emotional health. I think it's good for my body. I think it's good for my mind. So I think it's great to start a new year. Don't give yourself too much to do, but think about the things that you really let go of in the last year or lost sight of, or just things that fell by the wayside that are actually important to you. I think about it, at the end of last year, I really felt like, I should work out today. I didn't work out today. I should have worked out today. I didn't work out today. Like I had that narrative running in my head every day for the last 6 months, and I don't want to have that narrative anymore. So I'm going to create good habits, and I'm going to keep them as long as I can this year. I'm not saying I'll hold it all the year through, but I'm going to use my calendar. I'm going to use my schedule, and I'm going to use the control I have to make things happen, to put those habits into action. For Work Like a Girl. So Work Like a Girl this week is, we have another clip. So we had a women's marketing roundtable. Deirdre and I hosted this at the end of last year. We had some funny moments. We had some great insights. There was a lot of really good sharing. We featured women who work at Barstool Sports, and then we featured and invited women all around the marketing industry to have a roundtable conversation on working like a girl. So here it is.
The first topic, and this was something that really came in consistently from everyone that joined us last time, was the real life challenges that women face in sales and marketing in particular, because that's the space we all live in, but I think this is across all industries and all areas of business probably. And how can we affect change going into 2022 and our future? This is a great topic because I think it's a topic that has been talked about pretty broadly for many years now, and I think change is happening, and the fact that we're all here and all very influential business leaders in our own regard is a testament to the fact that this is a topic that's become, in the forefront. As someone who works in sports, to be working at the fastest growing sports media brand and have a fully female C-suite is very unique, and I also think it's an indicator of change that has occurred. And then also, I've spoken on so many like female leadership in sports or media panels, and it's like we're getting to a point where it's not just the same 5 women every single time. I made the joke I think when I first met Erika that the Sports Business Journal, they do their women's Game Changers event every year, and it was like, I've seen Stephanie McMahon and Michelle Wilson talk over and over and over, and like, is there anyone else? And I think this group, and we represent that next emerging female leadership group in media and sports. So that to me is a great thing. I think there are some real challenges though that I hear consistently, and I sometimes feel, so I'll talk about that a little bit and then I'll shut up so you guys can go. But I think one of the biggest things is like women, the balance between being approachable. I'm a nice person. I like to be approachable in business and life. I like to be liked. But then being that and also being authoritative. And I think that's something that women maybe feel more pressure around than maybe their male counterparts do. So I'd love to hear from you guys on that. And the ability to kind of be a leader, have a voice, have an opinion, a strong opinion and an idea, but also, not be seen as like harsh and, the authoritative is good, but then sometimes women are seen as like pushy or, too opinionated in the boardroom. So I think I hear that consistently a lot. And I think that's one of the things that I focus on balancing. Everyone will talk about work-life balance, but I actually think the world is changing and men struggle with that as well, although I think it still is very true. And we saw it a lot in the pandemic, like women are just dropping out of the workforce because the burden at home has become harder, and it's them first dropping out versus their spouses, their male spouses or partners. And then I do think that is still the case, and I hope it's changed, but I know when I was growing up in the industry and I worked in a very male-focused space in sports, there were not female mentors. I didn't have any. I've told this story a lot, but like Erika's the first woman I've ever worked for, which is really interesting. And then also, now there's more formalized like mentorship programs, mentorship groups. There's Chief, if anyone's heard of Chief and participated in Chief. Those things didn't exist, 10 years ago, and I think that is something that is going to affect change for the future, women in leadership and in sales and marketing. But I think that's definitely one of the things is like becoming a mentor and giving back to the next generation is really important. I think women of our generation were so busy trying to climb that they were almost stepping on the women below them as they were climbing up. And hopefully that dynamic is starting to shift.
I also think you kind of change over time. Like I'm going through this now where I had more corporate jobs before I came to Barstool. Then I went and worked in the music industry, which I don't know if anyone's worked in the music industry. Probably the most like nastiest, cutthroat, like kill or be killed industry out there. Then I came to Barstool, which was just kind of a goat rodeo. And now I'm having to like be a good corporate citizen and like sit on conference calls with people from different companies that are related to Penn and be well behaved, which is like, I haven't been on conference calls with other companies for a long time and haven't really focused on being well behaved. So I also think the being yourself, but being approachable, but being fierce and being effective requires different skills at different points in your career and different points in your company's trajectory or your company's history. It also is like, we have a lot of people who work in our advertising group on this Zoom, and it's like, hey, sometimes you got to work one way to get something done with this group, and you got to work a different way to get something done with another group, and you've got to be a third type of person when you're talking to a client. So having the deftness to understand, who are you talking to? What are you trying to achieve? What are they trying to achieve? Where is that going to go right, and where can that go very wrong? I'm finding, or at least one of the things I'm working on is how do I start to anticipate that before I get into the conversation, so that helps guide who I show up as in that conversation. Like, I don't know, like Lisa, I'm never like, I have a hard time being like, hey, how was your weekend? Like, I don't really care how anybody's weekend was. Like, I don't want to talk about my weekend either. But it's like, you're talking to like a big Southern alcohol brand, they want to talk about your weekend. So you're like, all right, we're going to talk about my weekend. So I think that's another thing is like, how do you travel with different groups of people? I think the most successful managers, entrepreneurs, leaders are able to hear, able to interpret, and then able to not just react, but able to put forth something that makes everyone feel good, makes everyone feel purpose, makes everyone feel comfortable, and then achieves an outcome that is desirable and appreciated by everyone involved.
Just say y'all when you're talking to
y'all,
people.
exactly.
It really warms the room up.
It's like when you get in the car with like an Uber driver or cab driver in a southern state or California and they just want to talk, and I'm like, what do you want from me? Like, why are you talking to me?
You press that no conversation
No,
button on the
I'm like,
Uber.
I can't do that because then I'm like, then they're going to think I'm an asshole. You know, like.
Shout out to you, Lisa, because Lisa, for anyone on the call that doesn't know Lisa, she's one of the senior media buying clients at the very big audio buying agency, Ad Results Media, and she is known to be a tough negotiator, I would say.
I love that.
And that is hard to be sometimes. So I think that is kind of where your head is on that. And she's also really sweet and nice too. But
Okay, that's a great thing. Way to go, Lisa.
Thank you. I needed this call today.
Yeah. The other thing, the last thing I'll say on this is I was a media buyer back in the day. And I remember this was like in probably 2000, so most of you weren't born yet. But it was a great year, and Y2K. And I remember I was buying media for Fidelity, and the AOL reps came and saw me, and I was just like, I was trying to spend a lot of money at the time. I was trying to spend $30 million, which in the year 2000 was a lot of money on the internet. There was zero chance AOL could take it. But those sales reps were working really hard to do the deal. And I was a raging bitch to them. Like, I just was I was nasty. I was like domineering. I was like, because they were irritating me and I knew they couldn't deliver. And I just was like irritated. And I always think back, you know, even 22 years later from those meetings and been like, I should have been softer and kinder and more patient. And found a more constructive way to be. So I think that's the other thing is like, even when you can go in for the win, you don't have to go so hard. I think that's also a hard lesson. And I think it's a good lesson for anyone. Sometimes I think women can actually go much harder than men. But anyways, that would be my other is like, don't take restraint can also be like a very good skill. And that's it for today's episode. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast, leave us a rating or give us a review. You can subscribe to Things You Missed. That's our newsletter. It's everything you need to know today right in your inbox. Go to barstool.link/TYM. You can watch this episode on our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. If you want a job, you can go to worklikeagirl.com and see what our job postings are. You can join a mentorship group if you join our Facebook group. So this is a great time to think about mentorship. And that's it. And we'll see you back here next week.